Hey, friends, welcome back to Unscripted and Unstoppable, the podcast for women who are done waiting and ready to live boldly in their next chapter. I'm your host, Lorene Quick, and today we're diving into something both mystical and practical: energy healing. My guest today is Christine Soza. She is the radiant force behind True North Awakening, where she offers Reiki sessions and she teaches others how to use energy work as a tool for healing. Yes, even on themselves. In a world where we're taught to look outside of ourselves for answers, especially when it comes to our health, Christine is here to remind us that as your body lives on this planet, it is full of wisdom, and the energy that you have matters. And healing doesn't always require a prescription or a guru. Today, we're going to talk about what Reiki actually is, how it works, why it's not woo-woo, as some people think, and how this ancient practice can help you reconnect to your own power and peace. And because this is unscripted and unstoppable, you know we're going to keep it real, a little sassy, and totally grounded. So grab your tea or whatever is your favorite beverage, pull out your curiosity or whatever helps you to feel centered, and let's talk about awakening your inner healer. Christine, welcome to the show. I am going to just jump right in and ask my first question, and that is, if Reiki had a dating profile, what would it say? Or in other words, really, what is Reiki and how do most people see it, perceive it?
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for inviting me to the space. I get so much joy out of just being able to share a little bit about what Reiki is, getting to introduce people to this kind of, it seems to be a foreign concept to a lot of people. A lot of people ask me, what is Reiki? And so I think the question about if Reiki had a dating profile, I think that uh, just try it. It can be super fun and playful, but it can also be the most beautiful experience of like sitting in a spa. I think my elevator pitch for Reiki is really it. Reiki can promote deep relaxation, and it is a tremendous force to allow the body to be in a deeply relaxed state. I really use the word stress loosely. Everyone is under a tremendous amount of stress, but it is a beautiful way to de-stress, activating the nervous system. It really helps to calm the nervous system down.
So if I went to like a Reiki session, what would I experience?
Well, I think every Reiki practitioner is unique in their offerings, but typically a Reiki session is done in a area where it's similar to like if you were to go to have a massage. And so there's typically a massage table that's a person can lay down. There's usually soft blankets, soft music, and candles, and really a person can just be invited to experience the it's experiential, and that's with the dating profile. I think just try it. I always just encourage people to try it because it's really difficult to find the words to explain truly what it is. I always encourage people to just try it, but what happens in that experience is someone will lay down on a table, and we do typically a guided imagery or a guided meditation. Someone does not need to have meditation experience at all, but really it's a way to support the person to help quiet the mind. And what that does is it activates the parasympathetic nervous system so that the body can get into a deep, relaxed state. I would say 99% of my clients feel like they have just had a good night's sleep after they have finished their Reiki session. Some people fall asleep, some people get into a deep relaxed state and they really just kind of float out afterwards and feel completely grounded and centered afterwards.
Okay. So I'm laying on a table and then I lay there while the practitioner works with on me, right?
Yeah, so
I
it
don't have to
includes
do
just
anything.
nope, no. I think for me personally, my practice is to help do some breathing exercises because oftentimes people will be, racing in. Sometimes traffic is kind of busy, and then they'll be a little ungrounded, perhaps, feeling kind of nervous when they enter. And so, really, just helping to provide a space to help calm them a little bit. Then I invite them onto the table. We do a little bit of a guided meditation. And Reiki in general is a hands on or a touch therapy. And really, I feel like we do not touch each other enough in this world. And so it's a safe, gentle touch where sometimes it's just on someone's head or on their feet. And just the act of touch, being that calm state can really activate that parasympathetic nervous system. Can I go for a minute to describe what the difference between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system is?
Christine, I think that would be great. So please, yeah.
So, so I come from a nursing background, and so when I went through nursing school decades ago, we kind of brushed over the nervous system. So I didn't even really have a full understanding of what our autonomic nervous system did. In medical terms, they talk about the sympathetic nervous system, and the sympathetic nervous system is when our are in a state of fight or flight. And we as a society, women of our age, there's just a tremendous amount of stress that's happening in our community, in our families, in our world, in our jobs. There's just a lot going on. And so we are in a constant state of stress, whether we think we are or not. And some people can navigate those stressful times in our lives a little easier than others. But really, our bodies are not built to be in that sympathetic nervous system. We are not supposed to be holding on to that stress 24/7. Our bodies are not built that way. And so, what Reiki does, and I'm not saying that Reiki has um, has the rights to all ways to decrease the parasympathetic nervous system. There's other ways that can activate that parasympathetic nervous system. That would be meditation, that would be going out in nature, that would be massage and acupuncture, that would be playing music and dancing, holding a baby or a puppy. All of those things activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And the parasympathetic nervous system is really being in our medical terms, we call that the rest and digest state. That's our natural state. Our natural state is to be at peace, and to be grounded fully in ourselves. To me, when we are in our parasympathetic nervous system, we are seeing the world in full color. When we are in that stressed, constricted state, it's like we live in a world where we're seeing the world with tunnel vision and things are really dark and kind of gray on the outside. When our parasympathetic nervous system is activated, we become expansive and we're connected, and we realize that life is just worth living, and all is well in the world. That's our natural state. We are not supposed to be in the stressful state. So that's what Reiki is to me. It's just really activating that sympathetic nervous system so that we can truly be in alignment in ourselves.
And I would guess that is when healing occurs as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I have been doing a little bit of study around sound and sound healing and learning that that's what it does as well. It calms you down
Yep.
enough that your body can actually heal itself. And it is such a tragedy, I think, that we live in such a, at least my experience in the world has been many of us live in such a hyped up, driven, go, go, go. state, and that becomes our norm. We think that is the norm, and it's not, as you said. So this is a tool. This is a technique, a strategy that would allow us to calm down and let our body be in our natural state. That would be both, obviously joyful and positive, but also healing for us. Good.
Absolutely.
Good. And so is this scientific? Is this spiritual? What is this when you say it's a healing modality?
So it is, there's some misperceptions about what Reiki is and what Reiki isn't. And I have there has been some confusion thinking that Reiki is not in alignment with any religious belief systems at all. It's spiritual in nature.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not magic. It
No.
No, it's not magic. So it's really just a process for allowing us to return back to a natural state of being that is both healthy and healing for us if we would embrace that. And and then obviously it does make sense then that you would want to learn how to do this for yourself, because then you can take yourself to that state um, anytime you want, anytime during the day, anytime during the night, right?
Yeah, for me, I have, I'm sure you're aware that really we have like we have two brains. Even
Mhm.
though we only have one brain, we really have two brains. And our left brain is our analytical side. It's our ability to critically think and get stuff done. And a majority of my life, I lived in my left brain. I'm just going to think my way through things. But really, in reality, what happens when we're living a majority of the time in our left brain, we become separate from one another. It's kind of where our ego resides, and it tells us that I am separate from one another, and we need our left brain. We need to get our bills paid. We need to go to work. We need to have our left brain operating. However, most of us don't realize that we need our right brain as well. And when I was in my nursing career, I really, I, I just did not even, I wasn't activating my right brain at all. And our right brain um, is our spiritual connection. It's our creative part of our brain. It reminds us that we are all connected, and so what happened in my journey is that I got really sick. I spent many years taking care of so many people that I forgot to take care of myself. And I just got physically ill. And I went to the doctor and went to the doctor and went to the doctor thinking that that was the solution. And I ended up I was taking a ton of medications, and I kept looking to the outside to support myself. And I had experienced a tremendous amount of loss in my life. I lost several family members, and it was in a short amount of time. And I was experiencing deep grief. I had not taken care of myself for decades, and I became physically ill. And I kept trying to think my way out of this. And I became spiritually, physically, emotionally bankrupt. And I really wasn't sure if I wanted to be on this planet anymore. And someone had introduced in the medical world, they wanted to do surgery and just give me all sorts of medications, and and I just didn't want to do that. And so I started looking for some supportive therapies. And someone had recommended, why don't you try massage? Why don't you try acupuncture? And why don't you try Reiki? I had been introduced to Healing Touch about 15 years ago after my father passed away. And Healing Touch is very similar to Reiki. But that kind of set me on my path of my spiritual journey. But it wasn't until I found Reiki where I learned to practice Reiki on myself. And to me, Reiki means love. That's really when you go back to the question, what is it actually? Reiki actually means love. And when you give yourself Reiki, you're giving yourself love. And I have to tell you that I healed in ways that I didn't even know were possible. I got off all my medications. I no longer needed surgery. And I am no longer the person that I was. I believe
Wow.
that it wasn't the Reiki practitioner that was healing me. What happened was the Reiki practitioner was creating a sacred container for me to do the healing that I needed to do. And it's really difficult to find words to explain this process, but really it's providing a space of empowerment that is available to everyone. I wish everyone could learn and discover Reiki because it is possible for everyone to heal themselves. And my left brain I analytically want to figure this out. I no longer care about trying to figure this out. All I know is that it has worked for me and has worked for countless people, that we are our own medicine, that we can heal ourselves. If we could just calm that nervous system down, remember that we are all connected and that we are completely divine and capable of healing beyond our wildest dreams.
Wow, what a story. So what would you say to someone who, I mean, I just heard your story, and at the same time, I'm still a little nervous, anxious about, coming to see you to get some Reiki done or to have a Reiki experience. What would you say to someone like that?
I really just encourage people to just try it. Meet with a Reiki practitioner. I do feel like again, it's experiential and really just trying it. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're holding our own breath. And so, really, just practicing breathing exercises, it really, you do not have to be a Reiki practitioner to actually practice mindfulness. I think that there's so many people that think, oh, you need to take, all of these great classes and, pay a lot of money to really know how to have a mindfulness practice. And really, it's just spending 5 or 10 minutes with ourselves to connecting with our breath. It shifts our energy and we can activate our own parasympathetic nervous system. But for someone who is curious and a little nervous, might think this is a little on the fringe, which I completely understand because I was there. I was that way 5 years ago. I just encourage people to just try it and see what happens. There was one gentleman that I took care of. I did several clients that I've had over the last few years that were on hospice, and he said to me, "You're not trying to hypnotize me, are you?" And I was like, "No, no, no, no." So there's a lot of misconceptions about what Reiki is. So I'm not brainwashing. I'm not hypnotizing. I'm not trying to convert you. It's nothing like that. It's really just empowering people to get into that deep, relaxed state. And you're doing the work. I'm doing nothing but just acting as a guide and then just giving you some tools that you can take home with you. I think the real goal for Reiki practitioners and for any Reiki master teacher is to not continue to have people come back to them over and over and over again. Really, our job is to empower people to do the healing themselves. We're just acting as a guide. So, yeah.
Kind of like a coach. If someone's still coaching with me 3 years from now, I figure I have failed because really I've created a dependency, right? Which is not what you want. So you mentioned mindfulness, and they're not the same thing. Reiki and mindfulness are not the same thing, right? So how do they complement each other?
Mindfulness is just being present, a practice of presence. And to me, presence is the best medicine. And so, Reiki, actually, for someone to administer Reiki, there is a process of going through a training. So in terms of really describing what Reiki is, it is energy medicine. So a practitioner is certified, has been trained. Anyone can do healing, but they have to be attuned to the energy by a Reiki master. So, but it is possible to get the training, but anyone can do healing for themselves. You don't have to be a Reiki practitioner. You just have to be in trained specifically to be a Reiki practitioner.
Okay, so let me make sure I get that. So we all have from what I understand, we all have a natural innate ability to self-heal. And when we slow our body down, when we slow our minds down, when we move into a state of mindfulness, where we're aware, that is a place where our body will naturally step up and work on healing. Yes?
Yes.
But now Reiki, so let's say I do all that, but I still want more. Reiki then would be added to that. And it's not mindfulness that I'm getting while I'm laying on this table. It's energy medicine, I think is what you said, right? So
Yes.
at some level, some kind of energy is happening on that table for me. Can you talk just a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, so Reiki, in Reiki is kanji. Reiki is a Japanese healing technique, and Rei means universal, and then Ki is life force energy. So it's a universal life force energy. The energy is not coming from me; it is actually coming from the universe, and there is an abundance, infinite supply of energy that is available to us. So a Reiki practitioner is connecting to that universal life force energy. They become a channel to direct the energy to the person that's on the table. And it actually, you don't have to be in person. You can actually send Reiki to someone at a distance. I have clients all over the world that, to me, it's like sending a prayer. I don't understand or exactly how that works, but you can send Reiki distantly. It's all about intention.
All right, so I could be all the way over in Africa, and you and I could have a session, and I would receive that energy. So the Reiki practitioner channels a universal energy, and I suffer from high blood pressure. So if I came to you, from what you've just told me, I know that this would help just because of the relaxation piece around me laying on a table and calming myself down and slowing down. But do you target specific things in Reiki, or do you just look at the body in general and say, in general, we're working to heal? And I'm asking, or I want to call in and channel the inner energy of the universe to help heal this body? Or do you say, we're going to work on Lorene's high blood pressure today?
It can be whatever the person wants attention directed to themselves. I want to kind of circle back around to the parasympathetic nervous system. So when we are in a constant state of stress, that sympathetic nervous system is activated. And what happens physiologically when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, our blood pressure goes up. We're in a constant state of stress. Our blood pressure goes up, our heart rate goes up, our respirations go up. And we just feel like everything is so constricted. And when we activate that parasympathetic nervous system, they've measured it. They've done tons of research on this. When we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, our blood pressure goes down, our heart rate goes down, respiration goes down, and actually our blood vessels that were constricted when we're under stress, our blood vessels become so constricted that blood cannot perfuse to all of our organs adequately. And so when we activate that parasympathetic nervous system, those blood vessels open up and dilate, and we're actually able to perfuse oxygen and blood to all the organs. And so it's perfect for anyone who is having high blood pressure. Also, I have a tendency to hold stress in my jaw. And so, and I have a tendency to hold stress in my shoulders. And so when I practice Reiki on myself and when someone else does Reiki for me, I feel like, oh my gosh, I have not felt this relaxed in so long. But really, ultimately the practice of Reiki is universal, and really the effects of Reiki can be long term. I We have to remember too that we are more than just our physical body. We are an emotional, spiritual. We have our mental, emotional. We have our energetic body, and so we might have the intention of, okay, I'm going to work on my liver today. Energy, or Reiki energy, is such a high intelligent energy that it knows exactly where it needs to go. So I might have an intention of healing this particular organ, and there is a Dr. Hayashi who studied under Mikao Usui, who is kind of our the founder of Reiki from 100 years ago. But Dr. Hayashi created a treatment protocol specific to organs, so we can be specific in our treatment protocol. That's why I love focusing my medical Reiki, or my Reiki practice, for people with medical needs. But really, sometimes our intention might be, I'm going to focus on this physical body part, like a back or, hip pain or something like that. But our spiritual, or maybe our emotional or our energetic body needs attention. And that was by experience. I was experiencing problems in my neck. I had four herniated discs in my neck, and that was what I was wanting to heal. But I healed my emotional, spiritual, energetic body needed healing first. And once those bodies healed and cleared, then my neck became in complete alignment. I think that sometimes our intention, we're focused on some certain thing when really we have avoided uh, tending to our spiritual body, our emotional body. Things can really get congested in our body. Grief is huge. Anger, those are all emotions that can really get trapped in the body, and Reiki helps to release those. And we may not have an awareness of that at the time, but it can really affect us physically
Do
if we
you
don't
have
take care of
do you have people when they're on the table they just start crying for they think for no reason?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think that that's a beautiful, um, when you're with a Reiki practitioner, it is just a sacred space for people to release. It's a safe space, because we never really know what we're holding on to. And Reiki can just allow that to just naturally be released. Some things from our past, what we resist persists. And I know for me, my own personal experience is that it has really allowed me to heal things from the periphery, from the unseen mind.
Mhm.
Um, just penetrates at a deeper level.
Well, and I know that it's interesting to me, this conversation, because I know that, like, for example, I might have a pain in my lower back, but it's really because my knee has got the problem, right? So when I have high blood pressure, it's like if we treat the high blood pressure, well, it may actually be something else that needs to be treated that would reduce the high blood pressure. And you implied that, I think, in the conversation we just had. But I find it fascinating that our body, we have to sort of be sleuths. We have to be a little bit of a sleuth, looking around for what's really going on. And it sounds to me like what you do in Reiki is you just trust the process, that the energy itself knows what to do, as does the body knows how to heal. So if we would just take our minds and step out of the picture for a few minutes and let it just happen, then the process would be, I assume, much more beneficial than if we try to control it and manage it, right? Yeah.
I'm like the biggest control freak. I try, but I'm so much better than I was, right? When I really, when I first started my Reiki practice, I was like, I'm the one that's, doing the healing. And that was all of my ego talking, and because it was coming from a place of love and really just out of this nurturing, really trying to support people. But when I call the practice being a hollow bone. Like, this isn't about me at all. This is about this beautiful person that's on the table having an experience, and each experience is completely different. And so when I allow myself to just step aside and really encouraging the person on the table to not have any expectations. It's really just a lovely experience for both of us when we can just allow the energy to do what it needs to do, and and I just our egos and our expectations and all of that stuff can really block the energy. So just having an open heart and an open mind, and it can be just a lovely experience.
I remember once I did have acupuncture, and the acupuncturist, she said to me, Lorene, what I would ask you to do at the start of your service is just surrender to healing.
Yeah.
Just verbally in your mind, let the universe, let God know you're surrendering to any healing that can happen today, and then let it go. Right. And I always thought, yeah, I even today I will still say that I am open. I surrender. I am asking for healing, and I'm letting it go and see where that leads, in my mind's eye. And I think one of the things that really has struck me in this conversation, Christine, is okay, so like I can reach for an Advil when I am not feeling quite good and pop that pill, and oh, it's going to make me feel a little bit better. It works, right? But I could also start to use Reiki as a way to self-medicate, quote unquote, as a way to help myself deal with some of the aches and pains of life that over time begin. I mean, what I also see is how chronic all of this can be, right? We just keep building it up and building it up. But if Reiki was a daily ritual or just something that you turn to when you're feeling hyper stressed, then it becomes a way to continually relax yourself into a state of health and healing. Um, that's supported by the universe, God, whatever you want to call that, but you're calling that in and asking for support and help and love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I used to have kind of in the depths of my healthcare crisis, I used to have 10 migraines a month at least. And um, once I started to do Reiki on myself, once I discovered Reiki, I have maybe I don't know, one migraine every other month, maybe. And so it has dramatically reduced. And I even forget, I've been doing Reiki since 2019. It's like, oh my gosh, I have this tool available. It is something that is free. It is something that's available to everyone. And what I have learned, probably the greatest gift, is that I was just always seeking for outside help. I was always seeking outside help to fix this, change this. I didn't want to feel the way that I was feeling, and it just piled up, and I could just no longer really just be comfortable in this physical body anymore. And once I started releasing those layers and became willing to take charge of my own physical health, there is such an incredible amount of power and feeling so empowered that I have more control over the direction of my life than I realize. And that really has set the stage, has really changed the trajectory on how I have stepped into my 50s, and how I have felt so empowered as a woman to know that I have more control over this body than I realize. And what I can do is activate Reiki on a daily basis. I'm navigating the world in a much different way than I used to. Things that used to bother me do not bother me anymore. And granted, I think as we age, things don't seem to be as concerning. I'm not as excited about things as I used to be in a way that, I am passionate about things, but I do allow things to kind of filter through much more easily. But I think that Reiki, the biggest gift is that sense of empowerment. Like I am taking back my own health and I am changing the trajectory of my life. I am not the same person. And I wish that for everybody. You have more power than you realize.
We ultimately become, we are the advocate for our own health and well-being. We are the
Yeah.
decision makers. We are the ones that choose. So how do you move a client to that place where I'm not coming for you to fix me anymore? What I'm coming for you to do is to help me take responsibility, accountability, but control of my own health and well-being. How do you help your clients do that?
It's the process of the Reiki energy. Oftentimes, if anyone, it's like I mentioned earlier, it's not mandatory for someone to have meditation experience at all, but it is a form of meditation in a way. So really, you get into that deep, relaxed state, and sometimes people will fall asleep, but sometimes people will just have their own experience. They may receive information, and we talk about getting information, guidance from your higher self. Like we know the answers are already within us, and so Reiki can help create and provide a space for people to get the answers that they're seeking for themselves. They can get clarity, and also the Reiki practitioner may receive impressions to also help guide the person receiving Reiki, to kind of help guide them. It is a sense of kind of a level of intimacy that you develop with your Reiki practitioner, because I think they act as this. They create the sacred container so people can have conversations that can get to the root of the issue more quickly, and really having the Reiki practitioner can allow you to have a sense of discernment. It's not the Reiki practitioner giving you advice or telling you what to do. It's actually helping you to come to your own conclusions and supporting you on your journey of healing. It's really quite lovely, because it's not the Reiki practitioner telling the person, it's actually the person coming to a conclusion for themselves.
Right. And so does all of that happen like in one session?
It's a great question. Some people feel like, that. To me, it's like you're on a train track, right? And you're just going through life, and then all of a sudden you just feel completely derailed, and you're like, "What in the world? How did I get here?" And it might happen over and over again. You might be able to set yourself back on the track, and you're going down the track, but somehow you get derailed, and so sometimes you just need one Reiki session to kind of help support you and get you back on the track. However, I do recommend at least 3 sessions.
Okay.
Um, there is no standard protocol for Reiki sessions. I usually tell folks that you're just going to be able to sense that you are feeling less energy, or you just begin to feel off, then it's time to come see your Reiki practitioner. So I know for me, when I start getting a little irritated, when I get kind of grumpy, I'm like, oh, my energy is off. I need some type of clearing out. We're just these beautiful energetic beings. To me, we're just having energetic exchanges all the time, and I've come to really fully believe that there is no positive energy, negative energy. It's just energy, and so really coming from that state of neutrality, of just having no judgment, that, okay, I'm just feeling a little off. And so sometimes we can accumulate. I know a lot of us women are so empathic, and that we can be kind of what I call a little spongy. And so, you know how you walk into, how you can walk into a room and somebody's had an argument, and you're just like, oh, something just happened here. That's us feeling energy. We're all beautiful, energetic beings, having this human experience. And so Reiki really helps to kind of clear that out. So, and a lot of us are carrying things that don't belong to us. So Reiki can really help release that for people as well.
Oh,
So I'd say 3 sessions maybe, but it's not necessary. One is fine.
and then even after that, then you might want to come in for maintenance kind of thing. Like, I always think of the chiropractor the same way. As soon as my back starts to feel funky, I'm like, I think I'm just going to go in and get an adjustment, and boom. It's not like I'm going every week, right? It's just a regular thing. Yeah. So that's good. That's good. Last question. What's one simple way someone who has never done any of this could start playing with energy at home, even if they're not into the chakras and the crystals and the woo-woo? What could they do? What's a practical thing?
I'm a big advocate of just connecting with your breath. I spend a lot of time just placing my hand on my heart and doing some deep breath exercises. So there is, another practice that I love doing is playing a little bit with essential oils. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can actually just run your hand over a beautiful rosemary bush or, some pine needles or just smelling a beautiful flower. In the my medical brain wants to take over again, but we have this olfactory nerve that connects to our limbic system in our brain, and just within 3 breaths, there's a shift. And so, smelling lavender, fresh flowers, I think that we just don't take enough time to just be fully present. We are so busy. And, like, I don't know how many people, take their phones into the bathroom with them or constantly are connected to their phones, and just allowing yourself to just 5 minutes of just stepping out in nature or just lighting a candle and be present for yourself, connecting with your breath, slow it down. Those are just small little things that have had enormous impact on my life. I will be driving from client to client through the valley, and I will just take 2 minutes in my car and I'll just connect with my breath. I'll close my eyes, come to my center. I have river rocks in my car and I have pine cones that help remind me that I am connected to the earth, that I am one with everyone. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing the sky and the world in full color again. It's magic. And we have this available. All we have to do is just step out in nature, connect with our breath. It's that easy.
Like you said, it doesn't cost anything.
Free.
And this is a great way to start. And that as that evolves, then stepping into the exploration of other modalities, and Reiki would be one of them, definitely to consider.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, Christine, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation and for reminding us that healing isn't something we have to wait for, beg for, or outsource or pay for. It's really something that we can learn, we can practice, and we can own. And if you are listening out there and you've been curious about Reiki, or maybe you're just feeling a little out of alignment, I hope this episode has nudged you a little closer to trusting yourself, trusting your body, your energy, and knowing that you are not broken. Your body, your energy, your intuition, all of that is just waiting to be listened to be attended to. And if you're curious, you can find out more about Christine at True North Awakening, and we'll link everything in the show notes, including ways to book a session with her or explore some of her classes if you are ready to dive deeper into this world of Reiki. And hey, if this conversation sparked something in you, I'd love to hear about it. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with someone who you think might need it, might need a gentle nudge back to their own power. And my dear listeners, until next time, please keep listening inward, keep living unscripted, and as always, stay unstoppable.